Hey, this is Bill Cook. Today we're going to talk about how to get construction leads, and specifically, what we're doing is we're trying to build towards 100% referrals. This is all really kind of depending on kind of where you are in your business. There's some different stages of business. Things are a little differently when you first start up. When you're starting up, you're trying everything really. Every market is different. Your specific message is different. What you need is data in the startup phase. At this point, when you're starting out, I don't want to say you don't want to take other people's opinions, but you need data. What didn't work for them may work well for you. What didn't work in one city may work well in your city. What didn't work in one networking group for somebody may work great for you. So really, when you're first starting out, you need to start everywhere. Start with everything and try lots of different ways to get leads. There's a number of different ways to get free construction leads. Sometimes you've got paid construction leads. A lot of people look for contractor leads for free, but when you're starting out, really you're going to start everything. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Now, in the growth phase, essentially here you've got enough leads to survive. You're not going to go out of business. At this point, you've got the phone ringing pretty regularly. What you need to do now is you need to try to grow your business, try to stabilize, figure out where you want to be, figure out your price points. This is a good time to start raising your prices when you're first starting out. Sometimes you gotta do what it takes to pay the bills. You never want to take a job and lose money unless it's going to turn into some recurring income. But in the growth phase, this is where you're probably going to start doubling down on what's working, and you're also going to start raising your prices. At this time, you're probably getting pretty good at your construction lead generation. You may have tried some home advisor leads and different job leads for contractors and those sorts of things. Now, when you get to expansion, this is kind of when you figure out your place in the market. The expansion here, we're talking about moving into a new city. If you want to start moving into different suburbs, if you want to start moving into big cities, perhaps you want to move across the state, or even go to multi-state locations. That's the next stage of the business is expansion. And then in maturity, this is where things are pretty stable, pretty steady. You're no longer trying to expand. You got your business as big as you want it to be, and perhaps it's just in one small town or one big town, or you want to be several states. But either way, at some point you're going to get to the point where it's no longer comfortable to grow, and then you want things to be stable and steady. This is the point where I think everybody really wants to just have referral business. You don't want to have to be out paying for leads and wondering where you're certainly well past wondering where your next leads are going to come from. Now, the different types of marketing, and a lot of this is, this is things you're going to want to do when you're first starting out, is, the door-to-door marketing. Sometimes it's, if there's a particular neighborhood that you think would be a great place to do business, sometimes you got to do the door-to-door thing. And on the signs, with the door-to-door, you're not trying to sell anybody. You're just trying to introduce yourself, let people know what you can do, and perhaps see if they need anything done. Now, with signs, what I'm talking about here is not necessarily something out front in your business, although that's important too. But what I'm talking about is signs is, putting something in the front yard while you're doing work on the house. Maybe you can negotiate where you have the sign there for a longer length of time. And signs are great for people driving by and seeing that. Another thing, whenever you're doing a job in a neighborhood, handing out flyers. You have your crew maybe at the end of when they're done with the job, go knock on a few doors in the neighborhood. Maybe spend an hour canvassing the neighborhood or whatever. Just kind of make it a normal part of the process to where you're already in the neighborhood. You're already there. You don't have to make a special trip. Just hand out flyers while you're there. And then vehicles, it's always important when you're working in a neighborhood that you want, especially if it's a neighborhood that you want to do more work in, that your vehicle, represents your business and has an easy way to contact you, whether it's a phone number, your website, or whatever. Now, networking is a very common thing. You need to get out there and kind of be where people are that may know your potential customers. There's a couple of different ways to do in-face person-to-person networking. There are some professional networking groups. B&I is one of them. If you do join a B&I group, I certainly would recommend it for construction services. They usually have a lot of people in the groups, and they only allow one person of each group type in the group. And this is B&I is a great way, especially for anybody that's doing anything construction related on the residential side. They've got commercial spots too. But for residential, there's usually a lot of people there that can refer business to each other. The B&I is really good for the home trades, and almost all the groups always have a lot of the construction positions fill up. But usually there's a way to get in a group, especially if you do more than one thing. Now I am a member of B&I, so if you want to tell them that I referred you, that'd be great. Bill Cook, a Sooner Networking Group here in Oklahoma City. Another great networking opportunity is the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce does lots of things. This is a great way to get out and meet people. Now, they're not a professional referral organization like B&I is, but nevertheless, there's lots of good things that can come from being a member of the Chamber of Commerce. Lots of good events, lots of good networking events. People get to know you, and when people know you and they like you and they trust you, they're far more likely to do business with you, and they're also far more likely to send people that they know your way. Organizations. Now, what I mean by organizations is who is already in front of your ideal clients. You want to be a part of those types of organizations where there's members there that are already dealing with your ideal clients. There's usually some builders associations that have all sorts of, the real estate agents, the mortgage brokers, the home builders, and lots of different construction type companies are represented there. There's one here locally in Oklahoma City. I'm sure there's some in virtually every city in the country. Those types of organizations really, you can really get a lot of business from people that do similar work to you, but they're non-competitive. So, for instance, if you clean windows, you might want to get in with somebody that installs windows. Those types of relationships can really work out well. Then there's paid advertising, and paid advertising is just absolutely crazy. The different ways that you can pay to advertise, from radio to television to flyers, sending out mailers, sending out postcards, sending out Valpak, those sorts of things. And then there's also, of course, digital paid advertising, whether you're getting Google ads, whether you're using Home Advisor, whether you're using Angie's List, Porch. There's all sorts of different paid lead advertisements online. So you can certainly get construction leads online. Generally speaking, they're not for free. None of this is really free. In the end, you're not going to sit there and somebody's just going to come hand you a lead. Even if something appears to be free, you're going to have to do, it's going to take some time and energy to get the lead, to get to know the person so that they would prefer the lead to you. Now, the next one here is organic search. And essentially this is, Google's the big search engine these days. It's essentially replaced the Yellow Pages. Nobody really has the Yellow Pages anymore. Nobody really uses it. So the organic search is a great way to do it. A lot of people think that, they'll never get there. Why would Google rank their site? But trust me, it's a process, and it can happen for anybody. And anybody that, if there's a category in the Yellow Pages, there's probably a lot of people that are searching for your business on Google and the other search engines. So make sure that that's something that you want to plan for long term. The organic search, isn't something that can happen overnight. It's not like the paid advertising where you just go do it one time and it's done. It takes a little longer to get there, but once you're there, usually you get some longer lasting results, and people tend to trust the organic results more than they do the paid advertising. Now, the events here, there's a couple of different ways to do the events. One thing that a lot of people think about is home shows and those sorts of things, or trade shows. You can certainly go to those. You can have a booth. It's a great place to meet people. And like I said, when you're starting out, really you want to try anything that you can afford. You never know what type of events that, trade show, what type of clients you might find there. One thing that, another way to do events is maybe to organize your own event. And what I mean by that is try to organize some different people that are in your industry that you'd like to be partners with. Invite them out to, maybe do, wings or something out at a local restaurant, have somebody come in and speak. And then, there at the end, you could say, I thought we'd all get together and we could, get some good, valuable training, get to know each other a little bit, and hopefully do some work. So those events, you can either be a member of an event, you can go to somebody else's event, or you can host your own event. And those are great ways to get construction leads. The next thing you need to do, and this is, I shouldn't say the next thing, this is, of primary importance, but no matter what your lead source is, you need to track everything. Every job that you do, you should be able to track it back to the source of that lead. And, over time, what you really are going to want to do, there's going to be some forms of advertising, some forms of marketing that are going to be really effective for you, and some that aren't. Everybody's different, every market's different, so you need to track your specific instance. Now, this tracking doesn't need to be fancy. You don't need some big fancy online costly pay per month thing that's hard to learn or anything like that. Just a pen and a piece of paper will work. If you're comfortable with spreadsheets, you can do it in a spreadsheet. If you want to have a book, a notebook that's dedicated to that, you can. Whatever you have, it doesn't really matter as long as you're tracking it. You want to track where it's coming from. You want to track the number of closes you have. So maybe you've got a lead source that gives you a lot of leads, but they're not closing. The value of the deal, maybe some lead sources are giving you much higher value deals, and then the profits of the deals. Maybe you've got some leads that are giving you some really high value leads or high value deals that there's not much profit in, and you've got other sources that are giving you a relatively average value deal or value of the deal, but the profit margin is much higher. So you need to track everything, and this is really, this can really help you over time. And then double down on what works. If you've got some form of advertising, maybe you're trying 10 different ways of advertising, and the top 3 are the ones that you should be pouring more money into. For instance, if you're spending $1,000 a year on Google ads or Facebook ads or whatever, and you're getting $10,000 out of it, maybe next year you ought to try doubling that or even tripling it, whatever you can afford. It's one of those things. If you're paying $1 in and you're getting $2 out, why would you ever stop adding money to it? So tracking is certainly a big part of it, and it's what's going to help you over the long term. You're going to stop spending money on what doesn't work, and you're going to start focusing on things that do work, and then you'll be able to get more and more value to your company. Now, a lot of times, and we're going to talk about website here, this is largely because whenever you're marketing, generally speaking, you're going to be sending them you're either going to have them pick up the phone and call you, or more often, you're probably going to be sending them to your website. And believe me, if somebody is doing some research on you, they're probably going to want to go to your website and have a look around and see what all you do and check your reviews and those sorts of things. Now, websites these days, it's, there's lots of great places to get websites done. Lots of people have them. But really, they're not there to be a brochure. Essentially, they're there to make you money. We're in business to make money, so you want your website to help you make more money. A couple of things you can do here. It's got to be clear what you do. When somebody's coming to your website, it should be clear kind of that they're in the right place. You don't want to confuse them when they get to your website and make them think that they're at the wrong place. Pictures of your crews. Now, this is kind of really important. There's a lot of people that use these stock photos, and I don't know about you, but I can tell a stock photo from a mile away, and they're usually not nearly as effective as having a picture of your crew, especially if you can get some local landmark or something like that in there where people know that it's you and know that it's your crew, and it's pretty obvious that it's not a stock photo. Your phone number. It's kind of crazy how many websites you go to and you don't see a phone number on the home page. You got to click through to get to the phone number. If you want the people to call you, you got to make your phone number readily accessible. And then for a call to action, people, surprisingly, they do what you tell them to do. So on your website, tell them what to do. Make it kind of obvious. Kind of have a big orange or green button sitting there, saying call now for a free estimate or whatever it is that you offer. Make it a good, clear call to action. Now, the next thing I have here is video testimonials, and video testimonials can really do a good job. There's just something about seeing another human being there that's saying the words that are on the page. It kind of removes all doubt that the person actually gave the review. If you see a text review, those can kind of be fake. Even if you have a picture, that's pictures are better than text only. But there's something about a video where it's obvious that the person in the video literally had the work done and did the testimonial. There's really some connection that can be made there. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get the people that are on your website to trust you enough to pick up the phone and give you a call. So that's the last thing I've got on here is the trust badges. And essentially, people want to know that this is a real company. So real companies are members of the Better Business Bureau. Real companies are members of the Chamber of Commerce. Real companies are members of other associations, other professional associations. So whatever trust badges you have, make sure that you're prominently displayed on your website. And the reason we do this is so that people will know, that you're a professional business, that you're not some fly-by-night organization. We're in this for the long term. Now, speaking of the long term, some of the long-term goals, and this is, I think these are good goals for any company, is to essentially at some point, you want to stop chasing leads, you want to stop buying leads, you want to have 100% referral business, and everything is inbound. You don't want to have to go have somebody give you a name and number and say, hey, I think this person was looking to, for new kitchen cabinets or whatever. You want the person to pick up the phone and give you a call and say, hey, I heard these great things about you. Can, I get an estimate or whatever? And so essentially long term, I say here have no advertising expenses. And what I mean by that is no paid advertising. This stuff can be built right into your processes. And on the next page here, you can build like referral programs right into your processes. Ask your customers as soon as you're done with the job, as soon as they're happy, ask them if they know anybody else that might be interested in your services. Something you can do periodically, maybe send a postcard or send a card to previous customers, and in the card, let them know that you're still looking for referrals and you've got some time and you'd love to be able to help out their friends. And you can also, this is an interesting one, is you can ask previous leads. If you've got a lead that never converted for you, you can always go back to them and ask them if they know anybody else that can do it. Now, just kind of speaking of leads, and this is something you can do like today, you could send out a 10-word email that essentially says, are you still interested in blank? And, send that to your previous leads, people that didn't convert for whatever. Now, you can't do this month after month to the same people, but, you can do it a couple times a year. And then maybe on the odd times of the year, go back to them and ask them if they know anybody that they may be able to send you. Now, this is stuff that you can build right into your process, and it doesn't take any extra time. It's certainly not a whole lot of extra money. So those are really good ways to build long-term referral programs. And the other thing that you can do is give them a reason to refer. We're not, you're not out paying for flyers or paying for this. You're essentially asking for, somebody that you've already developed a relationship with to give you a lead. Give them a reason to give you a lead. Buy them a steak dinner or something. Give them something really nice. Make it worth their while to let them know that you appreciate them giving you a referral. So this is another great way to do the long-term leads and, kind of get, and you can start doing this from day one. Really, you should start doing this from day one. The sooner you can get these referral programs into your business, the better off you're going to be. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is like the biggest referral partner ever. And this is essentially search engines. Google has largely replaced the Yellow Pages. Yellow Pages, I still get the book and I'm kind of a marketing guy, so I look through it, but really what I'm doing is I'm looking to see who's spending money on marketing. And the best thing about the search engines is the organic rankings. Those are what is commonly known as the free traffic from Google. People see the organic rankings as like a recommendation from somebody that they know, like, and trust. People love Google. They go to Google, they ask like 5.6 billion searches a day or something crazy like that. And people love Google and they trust Google to give them great answers. And for whatever reason, business owners get kind of a psychological advantage when they're ranked at the top, and people think that Google is telling them that this is the person you should go see. Now, that's not exactly what's happening. What's really happening is that these people at the top have learned how to get to be there. They're not there by accident, I can assure you. Maybe there was a day when this accidentally happened, but this no longer happens by accident. These are things that you can intentionally do. This is a long-term thing. This isn't something, I think I mentioned it earlier, you're not just going to want to get ranked in the search engine. It's just going to happen overnight. It takes time. And this is for a couple of reasons. One is, Google is a long-term business. They need a good source of content to show that they're customers. And for you to be one of them, it takes some time for Google to trust you and your website. The other great thing about this is, these are inbound. This is something that once it's set up, you largely have nothing else to do. People come to your website and they pick up the phone and they call you. It's just awesome. Another thing that Google's done, and this is kind of the Google Maps, and anybody that's doing anything local is, they've got a Google Maps. It's called a Google My Business listing, and these are free for any local business. All you got to do is go to, I think it's google.com/business, and you can create the Google My Business website for yourself. It is a Google property. It's got some things you can put in descriptions and add images. And this is also where people are going to give you reviews on Google Reviews. So it affects your star rating. So another thing about this is you can do pictures. Pictures are great, especially for construction companies. Earlier I talked about some paid advertising. Something I didn't talk about was like some social sites and with pictures. For whatever reason, Pinterest is this crazy platform where people are looking for like design ideas all the time. So this is if you've got before and after pictures, if you've got some really good work that you've done, Pinterest is oddly enough maybe a great way to do that. Works well on Facebook too. If you've got a business Facebook page and those sorts of things, people really like pictures in kind of a social atmosphere. I mentioned the 360 photos here. You can see on the lower left, I got the Google Maps Street View Trusted. I'm a Google Maps Street View Trusted photographer, which essentially means that I can come to a business and take 360 photos. And essentially we can now tie that to the street map where, if you're, street map, you can go down and get that 360 view. Well, now you can, used to be you'd like look across the parking lot and you could see, okay, yeah, there's a business there. Well, these days, the street view, you can now actually connect that all the way into your business. And if you've got a showroom of any sort, then perhaps this is something that you might be interested in. A lot of people with just shops that it may not do a lot for getting customers unless it's, like really clean and something that you want to show off. Then it can make a difference. But the big difference is that it may make a difference in your maps ranking. These are, and the things that I put here are things that can impact your maps rankings. And the higher you are in the rankings, the more reviews you have, the more likely you are you get people to come to your site. So the next thing I want to talk about is kind of construction phrases. And what I mean by this is these are things that people are going to the search engines and typing in. Now, what I did here is I went to Chicago. I'm in Oklahoma City, but I did this search for Chicago, looking for construction companies, and it comes back. And Google also has free tools that'll do this for you. But I just wanted to kind of show you some things that you could put into your, try to optimize on your website. People, the number one term is like contractor. The next one is like general contractor, and you notice here that this one can be plural or not plural. The next one, this was construction companies in this case it was Chicago, but you could put in in your city name there. then construction companies near me, local general contractors. And the nice thing about this is that you can take these types of phrases here, and then you can put your city in front of it. You can put your city behind it. If you've got different names for your city, like New York City is also NYC, Oklahoma City is also OKC. And you never know what people are typing into the search engines unless you do the research. But you can put your city in the front, city in the back, all sorts of things like this. And these are things that people are likely typing into the search engines and can turn into more construction leads for you. Now, essentially, this is what I do, is essentially the search engine optimization, help people get found organically in Google. I do have a LinkedIn group where I've got like lots of training where you can come in and be a part of the group and get access to the training, where I talk about all the different things that go into getting a site ranked. Just connect with me on LinkedIn, and if you're a business owner and I think that you'd be a good fit for the group, then I'll invite you to the group. If not, I don't let everybody into the group. It's only really business owners and decision makers in the local business world is kind of who I'm letting in the group right now. And then for some big kind of picture stuff on what I do, kind of how I got where I got, and why I do what I do, you can go to the latest training there. I've got the website there. Depending on the page here, sometimes you'll find a link below this somewhere on the page, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on my website or whether you're on some other place where I've published the content. You might find a link here, but sometimes people are going to embed this video on their website. That's why I've got the whole URL listed here. So this is what I do. If you want to listen to the training, you got some LinkedIn groups, and hopefully you've got enough training here to know how to start and grow your business.